Hey, welcome to the Tim and Gugabe podcast. This is your host, Tim. Gugabe, how's it going?
Loving life at the moment. Yeah, business is pretty good. How's you, Tim?
Not bad. We had we're back in the swing of things. I guess we can recap last week. Maybe just go over a few fights on the card.
Yep. Happy to do that, as always.
Sorry, I'm like blanking. We'll just go over a few just because we have a full card to go over. But I guess we can talk about Kenny and Wood. I wasn't going into originally, but fun fight.
Yeah, I mean, I had Wood, so I got like plus 170. Had a bunch of the decision prop and that sort of stuff. I felt like he could have pulled away with that if he was a bit busier towards the end. Yeah, Kenny's looking great. My thing with Kenny is I feel like he's doing well, but he's also just going to win a lot. When he is on, he's going to win a bunch of close decisions, just kind of how he fights. It's just like, because he's not a dominant athlete, it's just kind of like he can take close decisions against good fighters, but like I don't think he's ever going to run away with too many fights.
Yeah. I originally think he was undervalued in the early in his UFC career. And now I think he might be a little overvalued, but he's also turning out to be a little better than I thought he would become, you know? He's skilled, and that's because he doesn't really have any major holes in his game. So he can definitely compete with some good guys. But like you said, I feel like his ceiling, just because he's not super athletic and this division's stacked, it will limit him in a way. But I mean, he's like, I feel like he'll stick around in that tough middle class in bantamweight with like the Stamens and some of those guys. You know, like I feel like he'll be around.
Yeah, that's about where I've got him too. It's like I'll play him at plus 150 against a lot of guys, and I'll play against him at plus 150 just on general principle.
Yeah,
like I was on him. Yeah, we were both on him up the sort of original thing. I've been betting against him lately because it's like Wood. I was just like, I think that's the best sort of 60-40 Kenny, which I think that did look like a 60-40 Kenny.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, either guy's capable of winning that fight. I do think Kenny is a little better grappler, so you always probably pop him a few percentage points that way, and he might hit a little harder, but it was still close. Like I feel like those guys are always just going to be competitive with each other.
Yeah, and Wood had the output edge, so yeah, I think it just kind of bounces around. I also had a bunch of ends by KO, which annoyed me a bit because it's just like they were just teeing off on each other.
Yeah, they both. Yeah, Wood showed up with his good chin today. That's why, yeah, those like striking fights when it's just kind of KO reliant, I always feel weird about the over-unders because you're really just guessing on a chin, you know?
Yeah, it's so arbitrary too. It's just like it just depends how somebody lands one time, and it's just just crazy.
For sure.
Anyway, go for Kenny.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a fan of him, so I'm happy he's doing well. We can. Ankalaev just murdered Kudalaba. I don't think we need to talk about that. Murphy. Oh yeah, I'll brag about your win for you. But I almost played Murphy money line. I ended up just passing, but I was just a little concerned because we hadn't seen Chakarova in a while, even though I thought the kind of latest version of her on tape was probably going to get murdered here. And I was just worried about her. You know how it is with debuting fighters. They can kind of show up. It's volatile. They can kind of be much different versions, but Murphy just dominated and you played the sub. So at a really good, what was it, like plus 2,000? Something fucking stupid. I don't even remember.
I think my average when I actually got it, well, by the time I got all my bets on, so like I probably averaged plus 1830, but like Murphy hadn't gone for a sub, but it's just like, surely she is capable of winning like a joke.
Yeah, I think we talked about it because we were kind of going through her record, and it's like everyone she had been fighting, she's not going to submit because they're good grapplers, like Eubanks, Roxanne, Lee, all of them. I mean, they're very skilled, and we had agreed this was the worst fighter Murphy had faced. I feel like Murphy just fought a lot of good fighters. Like she's got a tough resume, and that's probably why she was a little underrated in her last few fights.
Yeah, and even then, like, Shakira was actually kind of working well to survive. Like, it wasn't like Murphy just took it out instantly and dominated. It's like, Murphy was clearly winning the fight, but with my ITD, I was kind of freaking out a bit after 8 minutes because, like, Shakira spent as much of the fight as possible going backwards.
Yeah.
And, like, she was losing minutes, but it's like, you know, when one fighter is fighting to GTD and not to win the fight, it's always annoying for unders.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I feel like Shakarova kind of realized she was fucked a few minutes in, and I feel like if it would have stayed striking, Shakarova she went in survival mode and she probably would have survived, but once the grappling happened and she got the back take, it was kind of checkmate.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I mean, Murphy's always I think Murphy's going to win that, the huge clip, but it's just like, you know, Shakarova's not going to be engaging, not going to be trying to win on her own thing. It's hard to get the finish consistently, so that was quite fortunate, but it was nice.
Yeah, Murphy, I mean, was definitely even value in her money line, in my opinion. I just don't see where Shakarova, especially when you realize the takedowns weren't going to land at a reliable clip for Shakarova. So she was just kind of fucked there, I feel.
Like, I played Murphy at Master 200, and I usually hate playing Juice. I couldn't see much of a coherent win path for Shakirova.
Yeah, that says a lot whenever you play those. Like, I'm more willing to play those lines, but I try to be careful in my selections. But you rarely play them, so you're obviously very confident in her.
Murphy was a lot better fighter, a lot better competition. The minus 200, like, again, close back at minus 250. It's just like one of these things which is like, I guess Shakirova must have had some Russian hype. Some fighters seem to get blind national hype, but who knows?
Yeah, she I think she had a wrestling background for what fucking country was it? I don't know, some random country, but I just one thing about women's wrestling, like internationally, first, like in freestyle, I always say it doesn't teach you to hold people down. But not only that, women's wrestling, there's just not a lot of women's wrestlers. So having a background in women's wrestling doesn't always mean that much because a lot of these girls like Murphy have been grappling, for years as well. And they've learned basic wrestling. And so they can just automatically compete with some of these girls in wrestling just because the depth isn't there, where like if you rise to the Olympic level in men's wrestling, there's so many guys who wrestle. So you actually are quite good and have stood out from your peers, where that's not the case for women's wrestling as much. So,
yeah, the same for Australian wrestling. We only have 5 people do it, so it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, for sure. And like a lot in men's wrestling for other countries as well. But I mean, if you're an international wrestler for America or Russia, you're fucking legit. But Volkov, Harris, I played Volkov here. I decided just to play it. And yeah, I just thought Harris was kind of KO or bust, and I feel like that was probably the case. But yeah, Volkov looked good.
Yeah, he did. I had a little bit of Harris round 1, round 2. Was it plus 330, whatever it was? Volkov looked good. Harris clearly didn't have any dart. Yeah, I thought there was a chance Harris just bum rush him.
Yeah,
Volkov's defense looked straight switched on. Harris probably didn't take the right decisions on the outside. Like he started kicking with Volkov, and it's like, why are you kicking with Volkov? Just try and bum rush him, please. But
yeah, I generally don't like playing heavyweight fights because I'm not good at them. But I just felt like it was KO or bust. And then the more I thought about it after the podcast, Volkov has had like almost 40 fights, and he's only been KO'd in the first round one time. And it was against that Russian Bellator guy. Vitaly. I'm blanking on the name, but I felt like a lot of it was from kind of the takedown threat as well. And so I just feel like Volkov probably had better durability than Harris per capita when it came to like the amount of fights they've had. So I just rolled with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whittaker Cannonier.
You say Cannonier broke his arm in like a minute in.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Instagram thing is like he literally on the first kick he broke his arm, which explains why he wasn't throwing many punches. Like, I kind of got what I expected of Whittaker just kind of winning minutes, but like also Cannonier, the leg kicks were probably the most significant strikes in the first 2 rounds, which is odd, but like just Whittaker was clearly moving funny. Whittaker looked good.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see what happens if Cannonier doesn't break his arm in the first minute, but yeah.
Yeah. Whittaker just had a big advantage on the head strikes, and that was kind of, I feel like, the key to victory. He just landed a lot more. And then obviously you hurt Cannonier later, but weren't the scorecards super wacky? Like all over the place?
29-28 unanimous, but yeah, it was like Cannonier got round 1 on one scorecard, round 2 on 2 scorecard. I could kind of see Cannonier round 2. Round 1 was weird. It's like, obviously leg kicks usually get judged less than head kicks, but like Whittaker was clearly hobbled by the leg kicks.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar with like jab versus leg kicks. Like I can see the argument both ways, but yeah, clear Whittaker decision all the same.
Yeah, I thought Whittaker won. It wouldn't have been like an insane robbery, but I thought Whittaker had it. I thought he was the rightful winner. Khabib and Gaethje. Not trying to be disrespectful here, but Gaethje, once he was on the mat, looked and this was the reason why I didn't want to play him. We had never seen him there, so I was kind of just suspicious of how would he actually look in jiu-jitsu situations or if he got his back taken. But I honestly couldn't have even guessed he would. And I'm not trying to talk shit on Gaethje. He's got some good qualities as a fighter, but he looked awful on the mat. I mean, the discrepancy once they were actually on the mat was insane. I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, go on.
I was just looking at the live chat for this, and it was like 25 seconds of round 1 left. Khabib gets a takedown, and I'm like, oh, we can't really do much of this. Then he like immediately almost taps Gaethje, and I was like, all right, Gaethje's fucked.
Yeah,
that was not good grappling. Like, I mean, obviously Khabib's good, but like people have been able to hold guards on Khabib. He's not that good.
Well, the way I kind of saw this is like whenever I grapple, like I'm a top position guy because I come from a wrestling background. So, but I'm not willing to go for mounted arm bars or mounted triangles because it's just naturally against my instinct of sacrificing position. And I feel like that's how Khabib, like I don't do that unless if I like feel the person I'm grappling and I just feel there's a huge difference. So I feel like that, like when have we ever seen Khabib go for something like that? And he was on the mat for how long total in this fight? Like not even a minute. I mean, probably just 20 seconds in round 1 and a little bit in round 2. And he felt him for those first like 10 seconds and was just like, oh God, because he didn't even care that he was sacrificing position. And I've never seen Khabib do that, at least recently in the UFC.
Yeah, it's just Gaethje just did not look like he had much off his back. Like, I mean, Khabib is good, but like if you've done jiu-jitsu, you know when there's Gaethje just looked, not good.
Yeah.
Like, disrespect to him. Like Khabib is very good, but it's like, like I've played the Poirier sub and Ferguson sub against Gaethje, and honestly, watching that, I was like, if those guys somehow got on top of Gaethje, they'd probably get tapped pretty frequently.
Well, it makes me like really. I almost won't play Gaethje like ever after seeing something. Like imagine if he fights CDF, like one takedown is the fight most likely. It could be just a fight ending event type of thing. So yeah, that was definitely concerning, I feel.
Yeah. So on to this week, I guess. Hall vs Silva.
Yeah, let's do it. We can start at the bottom. Adrian Yanez and Victor Rodriguez. Thoughts here?
Tuesday night contender, man. He's a bit like he's very Masvidal-y. Like he's low output, but seems quite skilled. And he has a bunch of Masvidal split decision losses against Alaska FC, man. Alaska FC 1 week, man, should probably get killed by him, but Yanez work rate can be a bit shitty. He's prone to close split decisions, so I wouldn't play him at minus 400. Should really be a setup layup sort of fight.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like there's just not enough data on Rodriguez. There's only a few fights I found, and it wasn't against the best competition. But so who knows how he shows up? Yanez, I feel like just doesn't have the skill set that I would want to play, even in like a parlay at minus 400, just because he's willing to brawl a little too much. And Rodriguez, I mean, he doesn't look great on tape, but he'll throw down, and it doesn't take much to be able to compete in a brawl. Like I feel like Yanez probably looks better, but who knows? It's that you're just steering into variance at that point when you fight in the pocket and shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but so pass. Johns and Natividad. Your thoughts here?
I've seen some people playing Natividad. I just think Johns could just kind of just lay him prone. Like, I've never been a fan of Miles Johns, but Natividad's takedown defense and wrestling just seems kind of shitty. No play here, but I can understand the argument. Yeah, Natividad will come forward and throw strikes and pressure, and Johns is kind of gassy and low output, but I just think Johns will just get some takedowns, and that'll pretty much just be it.
When have we seen? Because I only went back I didn't go back too far on Natividad because I looked at his wrestling defense like 2 fights ago, and it seemed fine, but it wasn't tested too much. When have we seen his wrestling defense look bad?
I don't remember the regional fights. It was just all the combat German things. It's just, I can't remember the exact fight. I just got poor vibes from. I think Miles Johns can just cage push / take down good stretch as well. So if Johns ends up giving him a striking match for whatever reason, it's every dad's life.
Yeah, whenever I was looking at tape, I only went back a couple fights for Natividad, and then I didn't feel like going back too far. But I guess I'll go look at his wrestling defense. But like what I wrote down was striking fight was probably just going to be a high variance shit. Like they both can kind of crack. Natividad, I trust his cardio more on the feet down the stretch. But like I wrote down, I just hadn't seen a lot of Natividad's wrestling defense, but I don't think he can get wrestling going himself. Where the grappling upside is John's. I just didn't know how likely it was for him to get takedowns because I didn't go far enough back. But yeah, probably a competitive kind of scrappy fight, I feel.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, seems all split decision territory. Like, I don't hate a Natividad play. I just think that there's a decent chance that eventually John's lane prize him for a bit.
Yeah, for sure. KC and Cachoeira. What are your thoughts here?
Cachoeira KO1. Next fight.
All right, Ledet and Jacoby. All right. Actually, back to Cachoeira, Casey. Yeah, I don't know. Casey is less hittable, I feel, and is definitely more skilled. But Catch, I don't know, at this price, she comes forward and could make it maybe a little scrappy, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just going to be... It'll be a mess if Catch wins, I feel.
Yeah, pretty much. I think Cachoeira gets a bit too much shit personally, but like, yeah, at least she comes forward, she throws strikes and all that. Casey has no takedown defense. Yeah, shit show. Like, I wouldn't play minus 250 on Casey because Cachoeira will throw strikes and won't go away. Yeah, it's kind of a shit show.
Yeah, if I would play someone against Cachoeira at this price if they actually had striking defense, but Casey only defends at 53%, so it kind of makes me a little nervous just because she is hittable and Cachoeira will come for you. But I mean, Cachoeira is much more hittable. So yeah, pass on this one. But Jacoby and Ledet, what do you feel about this one?
Ledet is one of my boys. Unfortunately, I don't think Jacoby's a better kickboxer. She'll just kind of tee off. Ledet doesn't really have much power, so I don't think we change that. Yeah. Kind of annoying. So that's a guy I like fading people with. So it's just like with a matchup like this, I just feel like Jacoby's got covered. It's like, yeah, I can't be bothered. Yeah, just Jacoby. Yeah,
I just don't like. I don't like Ledet's striking metrics at all, and I feel like Jacoby will just. I don't know. He'll just be able to land, and I don't trust Ledet's volume, especially after that Kamer fight.
Yeah, like just Ledet. Yeah, the Ledet, that Kamer fight was fucking atrocious. Like he was clearly, against Kamer, he was clearly the cleanest kickboxer. He just didn't throw fucking for strikes.
Yeah, for sure. It was very. It was a weird fight. I feel like Ledet just wasn't doing anything, type of thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, not too exciting these first 4 fights, but going to a very exciting matchup: Cole Williams and Justin Witt. What is your thoughts here?
I took Witt at minus 110, like a little bit. I think I got average like minus 103. Witt seems to at least kind of be like a decent fighter. Like he's chinny and he's very hittable, but like he puts a decent work rate together. He throws leg kicks. Like Witt seems reasonable. He said he wants to grapple Williams. Williams just looks old. barely trains, according to people I've talked to. And yeah, like Witt could just fall over dead because he's chinny and very hittable. But yeah, I just think Witt is like a guy who's a tier below the UFC. At least he's doing the right things. Williams is just kind of a can crusher.
Yeah, I haven't taped this one yet. I'll get around to it, but I can't imagine I'll have anything on a fight this low level. But fair enough. I just remember them both not being very good. I don't know.
I think Witt should be a clear minute when I hear, like, I could see Witt out to Master 200 or something. I just feel like Witt, if it hits the decision or something, Witt should win it pretty clearly. And like Williams could knock him out because he's very hittable, but otherwise, Witt just has better cardio. He seems more interested, more athletic, faster. He just is better than Williams, I'd say.
Fair enough. I would chime in if I just haven't taped it yet, so I don't think I can add anything here. But Strickland and Marshman, I feel like Strickland should have him covered, and just like he's the better striker technically. That's where Marshman can probably compete if it stays there. If Strickland decides to grapple, I feel like he'll just dominate. Marshman defends at 20%, which is fucking awful. And Strickland, lands 1.5 takedowns per 15. So it really just depends on what Strickland wants to do. Yeah, like, isn't Strickland coming back from like a motorcycle accident or something? Like, I don't care much about narratives, but I feel like we should at least mention it.
Yeah, I fell off a bike. I think he had the knee reconstruction, that sort of stuff. So that's just enough to not play a minus 330 in my book.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I think that's just a big enough red flag. It's like, yeah, minus 330 guy has not fought since a life-changing accident. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I feel you. That usually I'm against that mindset. Like I had like several people message me about Volkov last week because I wanted to play Volkov, and it was about apparently he weighed in heavier than usual, but I was just like, I don't give a fuck. Like I don't even really watch the weigh-ins, but I do feel like this could be something that's a little scarier. It's not like weighing in a little more overweight. Like I mean, obviously this could affect him, but my general lean is to not give a fuck about something like that until I see it actually impact the performance. But who knows? Like this does seem a little bit more of a red flag, I feel.
Yeah, and also, for Volkov, it's 10 pounds of heavyweight, and it wasn't injury related. Like injuries, I'll be a bit concerned about, but not just weight fluctuate. Yeah. Like heavyweights just fluctuate. Like
it just is what it is, type of thing. Yeah.
GTD and Marshman Strickland at evens, I was kind of tempted by. Just like Marshman's not great, but he is very tough. That's pretty much it. Just like Strickland's never been a huge finish pursuer. I think if Strickland grapples, he can just kind of control him to a fairly one-sided decision. Yeah, but again, like, even the GTD, I'm like, there's enough injury there's enough injury downside there. I'm just like, yeah, pass.
Yeah, fair enough. Gruetzmacher and Hernandez. I need to look into the grappling exchanges a little more, but I just don't trust Hernandez at this price, especially when I don't even favor him on the feet, just because I feel like Gruetzmacher will come for you and will come forward. I just have to look into the grappling a little more to calculate kind of the chances of what I think Hernandez will be able to grapple him, but like, I do not trust Hernandez at this price, especially because I could just see if Gruetzmacher is there later in the fight, just pouring it on, a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just don't trust Hernandez at this price, but I need to look into the grappling to actually know what's going on here. What do you think?
Yeah, Hernandez looks mentally weak, for morally, spiritually, physically, financially bankrupt. Yeah. Grit should be just winnable for him. Like, I mean, Grit just kind of doesn't go away and wins down the stretch, maybe. But Hernandez classically just has the athletic edge, and I think it's a decent chance to hold him down. I
got to look into that.
Maybe a light bit than Grits. Like, I feel like Grits will not have much success early, and like again, the prices are such that even if Grits has some success, you're probably not going to immediately lose all your value.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Hernandez's confidence seems to be shaken a fair bit. That, I'm not saying it's like these narrative things, but just the way Hernandez fights was so confidence based.
Yeah, he's not willing to kind of like throw himself at people as much,
Which is unfortunate when his major skill set was throwing himself at people.
Yeah.
Like, if he suddenly has self-doubt with that kind of style, just like, you just fucked. Like, it's like Khabib or something, and suddenly he started having self-doubt, and it's like, well, you've got to go forward.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just want to look into the grappling a little more, but I just like Gruetzmacher is just tough if he's there, like he lands a shitload of strikes. Like I know most of it is because he teed off on Lozon, but he is just kind of tough and very, very. He'll put a pace on you, but yeah, who knows? But Greene and Moises, I got in on Greene at his early line. I got him at a better line than I actually tipped. But I honestly, like, I know most people because it's Bobby Greene and he has a history of split decisions. But I even think at this line, the price will probably improve just because people see Bobby Greene in this high of a number. I still think there's probably value on the line just because I just don't see how Moises wins unless if he gets the finish, and he doesn't land enough strikes, Moises, to really get a knockout at a reliable rate. And Greene is only allowed like 4. I think it's like I forget exactly, but he's only allowed like 3 or 4 passes in the last like 7 years. So I don't trust Moises to get a submission at a high clip because Greene's hard to actually get advances on, but he's also hard just to get to the mat because he has like 75% takedown defense, and Moises lands like only 1 takedown per fight anyway. And just watching that Ismagulov fight, he only attempted 3 takedowns, Moises, and I feel like he was just like accepting getting volumed up on the feet, which is probably going to happen here if he's on the feet for long periods with Greene. But that's kind of what I think. What do you think?
As somebody who liked Bobby Greene before it was cool, back in the Jakar Close days, I'm traumatized by that decision where he fucking beat Jakar Close as a +200 and he got robbed. Like, I still do not understand how they gave that to Close.
Yeah, the more I watch, because I thought Greene won marginally the first like live, but every time I rewatch that fight, I'm just like fuck. I think more that Greene deserved it.
Like, Close just landed leg kicks round 1. It was like Greene had a massive margin of head strikes. He had like a near sub attempt. He had all the damage. It was just like, I do not understand how they gave that to Close unanimously. But that aside, it's just, I think Moises is a bit of a buy low at this point. Like, I did like Moises as a prospect coming in. Like, I think that the Ismagulov is very fucking good. Dariush is very fucking good and just kind of overlapped him. And even Michael Johnson, it's just like, I know he's from St. Louis and history of failure, so he just failed. But, yeah,
Good job.
As far as, like, it's just like, I don't think Moises is that bad. I wouldn't touch -300 because I'm just, Bobby Greene losing a stupid split decision is such a Bobby Greene thing to do. Like, he's one of these guys who's like an A- in every area. But instead of going, I'm going to take my A- and mash it against my opponent's D+, he goes, I'm going to take my A- and mash it against my opponent's specialty.
Yeah, but the thing is, I hear you. And I played him against Alan Patrick, just because I understand he's had a history of split decisions, but those are against guys who are like, actually, if you look at, I don't know, even before the fight, I would just think they could compete in the rounds with Greene, where Patrick and Moises, I just feel like these are good fights for him, like the metrics say it, and stylistically, because I just don't see where they're actually going to compete. Or when he fights guys like Close or other guys, I feel like it's harder for him to just like land a bunch of takedowns, and I feel like they can actually compete standing. Where Patrick and Moises landed 1 significant strike against Michael Johnson in that fight. So it's like, I just feel like I think Greene's overvalued currently, because he has a bunch of wins against stylistically great fights for him, I feel. But I feel like, and we'll be talking about it later with Bryce Mitchell, but I just feel like he's getting a stylistically favorable matchup, so it's not, his line's actually justified here, but against somebody else, it probably wouldn't be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much. I wouldn't touch Greene minus 300. I don't think Moises is bad. I've got a feeling Moises competes here.
Fair enough.
Greene will give Moises whatever fight he feels like having.
Fair enough.
And like Greene's resurgence has been against Patrick and Guida, who are both very old and very kind of one-dimensional.
Yeah, I mean,
how old is Moises?
Yeah, the other thing I just think with Guida actually extends his shots, where actually if you defend it, which Greene would, he'll push you against the cage and kind of keep grinding on you, where Patrick doesn't do that. So that was one reason why I played Greene against Patrick. And then in this fight, Moises does the same thing as Patrick, where he'll shoot and he'll just kind of not extend or chain wrestle his shots after he fails. And you saw it against Ismagulov. And I feel like that will help Greene, because Greene's really good at defending the first shot. So that's another reason I like Greene. Like, I mean, you might be right, but I don't know. I just feel like this is a good matchup for Greene, and he's just getting good matchups lately. Eventually, when he fights somebody where, I don't know, somebody better who can compete on the feet, then this would be a dumb price. But I just feel like he'll be fine. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And also, like, Moises is 25. He's a pretty good athlete. Like, I don't think Moises is necessarily a static target yet. I think he's still, there's still potential. Moises just gets better.
That could happen. That's actually probably my biggest concern, because I feel like the versions we've seen, Greene will be fine against. But if Moises all of a sudden improves, that would suck for sure.
Yeah, like, he's 25. He's coming out of ATT. I'm not going to say it's reliable to just say, oh, Moises is a fucking up and coming prospect, but it's just like, he's 25
Yeah, that Michael Johnson fight was just so bad.
Oh, it was. I agree. It was hilarious, right?
Even Demir, that fight, I know Demir's legit, but that was still just, I don't know. I just didn't like what I saw. And
yeah, he seems to drop out of fights and he goes backwards a bit, I guess. It's just he seems to be a front runner, I'd say.
Yeah, and the thing with like Halaba defends at 47% his takedown defense. So Moises has got a few takedowns there, and it's just Greene's a much different animal to wrestle and hold down. And Greene's, yeah, like I said, he doesn't allow advances on the mat. It's been like 3 or 4 in 7 years. So I don't know. I just feel like Greene's going to be fine. But having said all that, Moises is going to be down 30-2 on the strike count, and then he's going to get a guillotine, and we're all going to laugh next week. Fair enough?
Yeah, I love.
Okay.
Hardy versus Greene?
Yeah. I know your type of fights you play. You're going to play Greene here, but I think Hardy's the rightful favorite. I'm going to pass. I'm not interested in playing Hardy at this line, considering I still think it's heavyweight, so shit can happen. And I still do think Hardy's a little green. And there's still like, we haven't seen a ton of him on the mat, and something dumb could happen there, but I just feel like he should win the strike count battle, but it's not like enough of a mismatch for me to want to play his line either. So yeah, that's kind of what I think. I think he's the rightful favorite, but I'm not interested in his line.
I think there's value here on the GTD and on Greene. I think Hardy GTD is just generally heavy value. Just the market seems to assume he's like Francis Ngannou. He's not Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, he has overrated power, I feel. He almost like 0.5.
He's decent. He's a heavyweight. Like he can hit. He's not like heavyweight, but he's not like running out and destroying anybody.
What's the GTD?
It's plus 200. I got like plus 250.
Yeah, I could see that.
Also, Hardy striking, it looks like he's using his reach and his length to try and insulate him a lot defensively. Like, he's not very comfortable in like actual exchanges, and like Greene is actually pretty good at that range. Like, Greene will get to a stupid leg kicky fight.
Yeah.
Like, my gut feel here is you're going to have a very slow, very ugly split decision where they just go kick each other in the leg for 15 minutes.
Yeah, Greene. I mean, Greene's metrics aren't awful or anything, so I wouldn't be shocked if he won.
Yeah. Like Greene is not that bad. I mean, he's only been beaten on the feet once in the UFC against Pavlovich, who just kind of athleted them. But I honestly think Pavlovich is a better. Pavlovich hits harder than Hardy.
He kind of lost in the feet to Vellante too.
Did he? Like, I mean, the first 2 rounds he was fine. He kind of got winged, and then just like Vellante poured a ton of volume on top of that. And also, I think Vellante is better than a lot of the guys Hardy's been beating.
You could, yeah, maybe. I mean, Hardy hasn't beaten
Solely in Castro.
Yeah, I mean, no, I do agree. Hardy hasn't beaten many great fighters. Like this would probably be.
This would be his best win in my book. Like Juan Adams, even the Juan Adams fight was kind of who cares, just the way it happened.
Yeah, it was. Was it Travis Brown? What happened again? I forgot.
Adams went for a single leg and just kind of hung on a single leg.
Yeah, it was like
it was hammer fisted 40 times, and yeah.
No, I do agree. Like, I mean, he hasn't really won. I guess solely he kind of won on the feet and showed reasonable intelligence, but
he still dropped around against Soli, who was like a fat middleweight.
Yeah, I mean, no, I hear you. This would I feel you. I still pick Hardy to win, but like I said, I'm not interested in his line. I do think this would probably be his best striking win if it goes to decision.
I've got a mix of Greene money line, Greene goes to decision, and Greene decision. I just think there's a very good chance this ends up being a very ugly, very awful split decision kind of a slog.
Yeah, you're going to lose a split decision here. It's classic Gugabe, I feel.
More or less, but again, even like at GTD, I'm okay with that.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Cause it's all big dog price. I've got like probably 2.5 units exposed across it. So like even if I just get GTD, I'm still profitable.
Yeah. Apologize to the listeners too. My fucking dog is I'm literally playing with him as I'm doing this podcast. So if I don't seem focused, that's why. And just because, it's hard to focus talking to Gugabe as well. So, but that was a joke, by the way. But Holland and Muradov, you want to talk about this one?
Dodgy split decision, turning on some random knockdown or takedown in round 2 at some point.
Yeah. I think I saw your Twitter poll, and this was the one I voted for split decision.
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that you who had a Twitter poll? Like, what's the most likely split decision? And you put 3 fights that I agree are probably going to be split decision territory, and this was the one I picked.
I put Holland Muradov, Greene Hardy, and Silva Hall.
Yeah, this is the one I picked, but yeah, I don't know. You have anything else to say here?
There's going to be like a knockdown or a takedown, like with a minute left in round 2. Like somebody will be winning round 2, clearly the minutes, and then they'll get knocked down at the end of round 2, and they'll kind of gas, and they'll then drop round 3. I'm not sure who it was going to be, but it's going to be one of the 2. And the people who bet on the one who ends up winning will just be like, "Oh, easiest money ever." It's just like it's a shit show. Like. Yeah. I think Muradov. I took some Muradov decision at plus 300, plus 320 actually.
Yeah.
Not in love with it. I just felt that line come down. Holland's durable. I just think it's a split decision. Like plus 320 on the coin flip's fine by me.
Yeah. The metrics are close. They have a common opponent, DiChirico. I do think it was, and they both had like semi-similar performances, like metric wise, against DiChirico. I do think like Holland has shown some fights where he looked awesome, like just on the numbers, and I couldn't see Holland getting dominated here, where I could see him just kind of like winning. I feel like if somebody wins super clear, it would be Holland, but I tend to think it's going to be a pretty competitive fight. I didn't like Muradov kind of slowing down in round 3 against DiChirico. Like he lost on the strike count, I think 19-14 in that 3rd round, and Alessio won that 3rd round for sure. And that's not, I don't know. I feel like slowing down against Holland wouldn't be a good thing, but I generally expect it to be competitive, and I'm definitely passing.
And also Holland's cardio, it's been a bit like Holland kind of gassed against Stewart, but he's had cardio in other fights, so it's like who knows how Holland's cardio would hold out. I did think Chirico kind of won the prior. I kind of felt like Chirico won the fight against Muradov, but it was a very short notice thing. Yeah, like he's going by common opponents. I felt Holland was a bit cleaner against Chirico despite discarding his arm, whilst Muradov kind of. It was very marginal.
Yeah, Holland hurt his arm in that fight. Didn't Holland hurt his arm in that fight?
Yeah, this guy's shoulder.
Yeah, that's why I didn't. Yeah, that's why, because that was his worst performance, and it just like mathematically, I would have expected him to do better in that fight, but like it kind of makes sense because his arm, he obviously got injured. So
yeah, he literally had one arm, so it was kind of whatever. On to the next.
Yeah, Fili and Mitchell. What do you think here?
I've played Fili for like medium. I think Fili's got like scope to be like massive hindsight favorite. Like Mitchell, he's fine, but fuck it. You watch his previous grappling performance. I don't think he's an elite grappler. Like he took advantage of Rosa, who Dennis Silva passed 12 times.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Sales is also like Sales almost got tapped by Carl Nelson. So it's just like, do these two grappling performances matter? Mitchell's historically been very gassy, which is also a concern. Like I think Fili takes round 3 at a very high clip if he actually competes in the grappling, if he makes Mitchell work. The striking gap is massive. Like Mitchell's striking is fucking ugly. I think Mitchell to justify his price, he needs to kind of like hold down Fili for 2 rounds or like instantly sub him. I just do not. I think Fili should be, the line should at least be flipped in my book. Also, it's like I think Fili could even be the better grappler here, honestly. Or it could just be competitive in the grappling. And it's like, what's Mitchell? If Fili's a competitive grappler, what can Mitchell do?
Yeah, I'm gonna tape this tonight. Like my initial thoughts are, I don't like. One, I 100% agree with you. Mitchell is super overrated as a grappler. I mean, he lost a grappling fight to Katona, and he should honestly. I think he kind of shouldn't have gotten the decision against Moffitt, first of all. And if Moffitt hadn't gone for that dumb fucking like Darce or guillotine or whatever he did in the 3rd round, and then the crowd cheered because it was kind of like Mitchell's crowd, I feel Moffitt would have won. And Moffitt, didn't he outland him in takedowns like 5-0 in that fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Tyler Diamond, who was an fucking incredible. Like in round 3, he just stunned. Mitchell got 10-8 on one card in round 3 because Mitchell just was so exhausted.
Yeah, he's super overrated as a grappler. Rosa, like you said, got dominated by Seaver on the mat, and Sales is obviously not a good grappler. And I'm kind of hoping Mitchell wins this fight and then is like even money against Evloev or something, and I would just bet very hard on Evloev because Mitchell's his striking metrics are awful, and I think he's an overrated grappler, so he's going to get sprawled and brawled at some point, and just kind of lit up on the feet, I feel, and just out grappled by someone. But I'm about to look into it, but the one thing that just kind of stood out to me when thinking about this matchup was I remember, I haven't watched it since the fight happened, but against Yusuf, I remember just not liking some of the grappling exchanges by Fili in that fight. But I remember them kind of being weird, like Mitch or who was it? Yusuf kind of muscled his way into weird situations. But I need to go kind of rewatch some of Fili's defensive grappling. But aren't you a little like, does that kind of ring a bell, that fight where you?
Yeah. Like Yusuf played a very conservative hold downy kind of a game in round 2 where he had most of his control time.
Yeah.
Mitchell is not going to sit in half guard and like tight side control. It's not what he does.
Yeah.
Like Fili, and also Fili's the issue of Fili's like his bottom game. He's good at picking his spots to get up, and like he's only been tapped twice. One of which was a crazy flying triangle, which no real shame in that, my book. And the other one was Holloway club subbing him off guillotine.
Yeah.
So like I can't see Fili getting subbed at a high clip, and like Fili can wait to a good spot to explode up, but like I think Mitchell will give him those spots. Mitchell's not just going to sit in half guard and throw arm punches.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not what he is.
Fili's a better striker. He defends at 69%. I just need to look at him defensively a little more. That Bermudez fight will be a good fight to look at. I haven't watched it for a while.
Yeah, like he really was lucky to win that decision, but he also stopped Bermudez's wrestling. I think Bermudez went like 1-8 in takedowns. And like, I'd take Bermudez over Mitchell a pretty big clip, personally.
Who did Bermudez fight in his like last fight? I remember I played it really hard. Yeah. I played in. It was so clear first 30-second KO or bust. I feel, but I forgot about that fight. I forgot. Did Bermudez? Yeah, Bermudez retired, right?
Yeah, he did. But even like, I would take Bermudez over. Like, there was a lot of like Fili's concerned because he might not get up. I just feel like Mitchell needs a very specific game to win this, or very specific chain of events to win this.
Yeah.
Well, I think Fili just has like, and the grappler and I'm a lot more confident in the striking gap than I am in the grappling gap too. Yeah, I think it's also possible Fili like reversed Haquin Diaz, and I take Haquin Diaz over Bryce Mitchell as a pure grappler.
Yeah, I need it. I'm excited. I feel like I'm going to have a strong opinion one way or the other once I kind of look into the grappling. I do know that it's been in my mind for a while that Mitchell's extremely overrated as a grappler. I just don't know if this is a fight to expose it, but it might be, you know?
Yeah, I'd even be happy if Mitchell somehow won this, because then I'd be able to get on to, if we can get like Kron Gracie versus like I did this poll where I was like, would you have Kron Gracie as a bigger or smaller favorite against Fili? And people were saying they would trust Kron Gracie less. I'm like, Kron Gracie is a way better version of what Bryce Mitchell does.
Mitchell's probably the better takedown artist, but yeah, as far as a grappler, it's definitely Kron.
Is Mitchell that great a takedown artist? Like, I mean, I just feel like it's and also like the consequences of Kron Gracie of giving up a takedown are way bigger.
Yeah. No. Definitely. Definitely agree with that. But yeah, I gotta look into it. I'm hoping ideal situation. I don't have strong opinions. Mitchell wins, and then he's even against Evloev for like Grant Dawson or something, and both those guys would out grapple him with ease.
Dawson lightweight now or not? I think he had his last fight with lightweight. Like even like featherweight. Just looking at featherweight, like even guys like Burgos or something, Burgos would kick the shit out of Bryce Mitchell.
Oh yeah. Burgos is a tough guy to grab. Yeah, that would be perfect. Like, dude, holy shit. Yeah, that pretty much looked like the Amir Khani fight.
I think Amir Khani's a better grappler than Mitchell, bro. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, Burgos defends at like 90%, and he will kill you on the feet if there's a striking gap. Like, he doesn't allow you to not exchange on the feet. that would be perfect. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, Burgos is coming off a loss, so if Mitchell somehow won this, I could see that being decently line tight.
That'd be hilarious if it's like a pick'em, or it's like minus 145 Mitchell. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but again, I just think like I can't see Mitchell really having upside over this current price. Like the striking gap is so massive that even if he does get his grappling going, it's like he's still got that loss condition.
Yeah,
and there's just scope for Fili to be a better grappler. Which point, like, it's just like if Fili can match him in the grappling, it's like, well, Bryce Mitchell should be a hindsight plus something massive.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna tape tonight. I'll tweet out my thoughts on that one just because I bet people are probably annoyed I didn't tape that one. But final fight, Anderson Silva and Uriah Hall.
Why are we doing this?
I don't
know. Anderson Silva by controversial decision where the majority media scorecard is 49-46 Hall. Anderson Silva gets like 50-45, 48-47, and a 49-46 Hall card. And they just elect to have a 4-striker round Kung Fu battle in the middle.
Dude, like, this would be I don't know, like, I feel like if it goes 5 rounds, there's going to be like at least 2 rounds where neither of them lands 10 strikes for sure. But yeah, like, I mean, okay, I'll like talk about this seriously. I'll try, but like Anderson has the better striking metrics, but obviously a lot of it was when Anderson was in his prime, like those metrics. So kind of can't totally trust that. Hall's kind of an overrated striker, just from like a round winning perspective. He actually has a negative striking ratio and defends at only 53%. So I think statistically Anderson's the right play, but like especially at this line, but like I said, a lot of the metrics by Anderson were accomplished by him in his prime, and he's 45 now. So who the fuck knows what you're gonna get, you know?
Yeah, and also like Anderson Silva, like I've never been that big a fan of him just conceptually because it's just like even in his prime, he relied a lot on physical attributes. He never had much of an output. His durability is now going, and his defense was always kind of reliant. You know, he did enjoy getting hit hard in the face just because he's Anderson Silva. And like, you know, last fight, he got his knee exploded from a leg kick. I'm like, yeah, kind of knee leg kicks hard, but still a concern.
His style wouldn't work as well. And like, even him in his prime, like if you took Anderson, what was his prime? Like 2009, like 2010, around that time. If you just took him here, I just feel like the new output, offensive-minded type of game, he wouldn't adapt as well, you know? Like he was still like he would still be fine, like and he would win fights, but you know what I mean with that, right?
Yeah, like I think Vittori beats Prime.
Yeah, like a Vittori. Yeah.
Yeah, like Vittori, you know, Charles Sonnen did essentially beat him the first time, and like
for sure.
How good Charles Sonnen be now? Like, yeah, Anderson, I think peak Anderson Silva would be like mid-ranked level middleweight.
Yeah, whenever because I mean, I think you and I like don't really care about this fight, so we can kind of drift onto this. But because that Khabib fight just happened, I was watching the UFC like post show, and they were doing their list of top 5 of all time, and I just would never put Anderson in there. But everyone always has Anderson up there. It's just kind of like a respect thing, and I wouldn't put him up there, but would you? Like, I wouldn't put him top 5 of all time.
Personally, no. But greatness versus goodness is always it's kind of a question between like being like Silva's got a greatness argument, but in terms of like pure goodness, no.
I mean, I think it depends on your definition of great, because this is my definition. If everyone fought in their primes, who would win? You know what I mean? Like who would I want? Who do I think would win the most fights type of thing? Where I feel like Anderson in his prime can lose to a lot of modern fighters, where I don't think Usman is going to lose to a lot of modern fighters. So I would take Usman over Anderson. That would be controversial, but like, is Anderson in his prime really better than Usman in his prime? I don't think so.
Yeah, like I mean, there's a decent amount of current champions who I would take comfortably over Anderson pure skill. But I think career accomplishments is a good part of the argument. Yeah,
if you want to go that route, that's fine. That's fine. It's just my definition's a little. I think it's because I have the betting mind, where I kind of look at win percentage, like who would win the fights if they were actually made. But yeah, if you want to go with accomplishment, that's fine.
And also, it's like, you get stuff like, because UFC, the MMA is improved so quickly. Like a number 15 ranked light heavyweight right now could probably defeat anybody before 2015.
Oh yeah. I mean, who's like actually a fighter back in the day who could compete like in modern, like GSP could.
I think the bottom ranked light heavyweight would still beat GSP.
Light heavyweight?
Yes.
Yeah, like I'm totally. I'd have to like think about it, but yeah, even just some of the modern welterweights, like I would take over GSP. GSP is like one of the guys. He's one of the few guys who would like compete in the modern era, though. But just like even like BJ Penn in his prime, I don't think he would do very well. You know?
Yeah, but BJ Penn in his prime is a fucking bantamweight.
Yeah. Well, I'm just talking about in his weight class, you know.
Yeah. Maybe Frankie Edgar's hung around. Yeah, again, it's tricky because some guys have hung around for ages and are still kind of relevant. And other guys, it's just like they're just sort of past their pay. Yeah, it's always tricky.
Yeah,
I've always found Anderson Silva was pretty overrated. Just generally, he had a bunch of highlight reel finishes, but it's always just a matter of his process was always kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's like, even like looking at current in the West, like I'd take Silva over like Till or something like that. But like, there's a few of these guys who are giving very low volume staring match shit vests, which I probably would take. So I think Silva over Till. Maybe Silva Romero would be a fucking shit show.
Dude, Anderson and Till, there would be like 12 strikes landed in like a 25-minute fight. I feel that would be that'd be like the Wonder Boy fight. I feel they would just stare at each other the entire time.
I even like Romero versus Silva. I was like, who the fuck? Nobody would lead.
Romero would probably dead him at some point, but that would be goofy too.
There's some questions here. I think they should have just done Weidman versus Silva for because I mean, hilarious.
Oh yeah, that would have been a funny one.
I'm not even sure how I'd price the frame match.
Yeah, I don't even feel like thinking about it. I feel like we're just talking about stupid shit right now. But I don't know. Like overall, this card, I got in on Greene early. I don't know. I think I don't like a ton of spots. I think the Greene line will probably improve, but I think he's one of I'd rather play Greene in a parlay than like Yanez because we don't even know anything about Rodriguez, I feel. But what are your main plays? What do you like?
Fili, I got some early Witt, which I like. Hardy Greene, GTD is probably a big play there, but I think there's some value on Greene decision. Yeah. Actually, just thinking, you know what the best outcome here? Uriah Hall pulls out and Kevin Holland versus Anderson Silva.
I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't want to see that.
That would not be fun.
It would be fun, yeah, because I feel like Holland would piss off Anderson. Like Anderson would like yell back at him and stuff.
Yeah, I just think it would be a very lively debate. They'd just be shouting and they'd be shouting at each other, and it would be lovely, and they'd be dancing, and yeah, that'd be a fucking stupid fight, especially for 5 rounds. But yeah, I don't know. That's all I really have to say today. And then we got the Teixeira Tiago fight coming up. Don't we have like a card every weekend until the end of the year? I think so, just about. It's October. So we got Teixeira. Yeah, they haven't got many lines up for the future ones. Oh, we got lines up for that one. That's
one last thing I just want to bring up. Just we can end on a funny rant by Gugabe. I'll just kind of pop open my water and let you go. But Edwards plus 130 against Chimaev.
Chimaev in that last fight proved that all the doubt is wrong. I still can't believe I played the fucking over 60 seconds in Mia Sharp versus Chimaev.
Yeah.
Like I actually have a decent record of those over 60-second bets. I just use it because like there's ones where it's like under 1.5 and it's a grappling match. And I'm like,
you played the over 60 seconds in that fight?
Yeah, like minus 500.
Are you serious? I didn't know. Did I not know that? Like, I feel like it's the first time I'm here. I'm fucking crying right now. Holy shit. What was the actual official knockout on that? Like 10 seconds in? It was something.
It was something stupid. I was just like, Chimaev is probably going to grapple him, and I don't think either of them are going to grappling finish inside a minute. It was like minus 400 or something crazy.
I agree with the play. It's just hilarious. Holy shit. Oh my god. I literally have tears coming out of my eyes. It's the funniest fucking thing I've heard all day. Oh god. Yeah, Chimaev is just I don't know. If you just look at who I just played, who was it? Is it Jung against Phillips?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Jung is not a good grappler. Like he dominated that guy on the mat, you know? Like Chimaev might turn out to be great, but for him to be minus 160 against Edwards is, I don't know, that's just very optimistic. Like maybe he comes out and looks like the favorite, but Edwards is fucking good. And Edwards doesn't really have any holes either.
Yeah, like I mean, like if it stays that price, there's like legitimate argument for like, you know, super max betting that because it's just like Chimaev has generously proven that he is like in terms of what's actually on tape and has been proven, he's proven like he's like fringe UFC. Like he might have the upside for more, but like in terms of what's actually happened inside the cage, he still hasn't really done anything I care about.
He's definitely done nothing I care about. I just don't know. I just don't know how good he is. You know what this fight reminds me of? It's not that the lines were similar, but just the optimism is on the unknown. Shabazian and Brunson, like I had talked about, Shabazian had a weird run of fights where I feel like we just didn't know how good he had so many quick finishes and just weird shit going on. And we had never seen a fight really play out except kind of, except against Darren Stewart. And I wrote on my breakdowns on that fight, like I could see Shabazian just looking like the minus 350 favorite, but I could also see Brunson looking like the minus 350 favorite because we just don't know. And it ended up being Brunson looking like the favorite. And that's the thing here. Like, I feel like it's possible Chimaev could look like the favorite, but Edwards being minus 900 is fully possible here. It just is, I mean, he probably won't look minus 900, but he could look like a heavy favorite, I feel.
But just generally, just purely from a sort of a logical point of view, it's like, yeah, it's possible Chimaev looks like a hindsight favorite, but like, Chimaev would have to essentially already be a top. I can only think of one other person, like a confident favorite over Edwards, and that's Usman.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Usman and like Covington.
I think that's competitive. Like, I wouldn't play Covington minus 160 against Edwards.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I guess that's kind of your point. So it's like, do people really think Chimaev is Covington? Like, Covington's fucking good. He's very proven, Covington.
Yeah, just some guy who seems athletic, who happens to be from the Balkans or whatever. It's just like, logically, come on.
Dude, how sick. Like
30-second Chimaev KO, I know.
I know where I would put, like, I don't know, this fight's like, I hate playing blind fights, so I hate to say it, I'll probably pass, but because I'm a pussy. But where I will finally put my flag in the fucking ground is if he does a dumb knockout on Edwards, which would be awesome, he'd maybe get a title shot and be like a competitive line versus fucking Usman. That would be awesome. That's where I would just be like, enough is enough. I'm playing fucking Usman. I don't even give a fuck type of thing.
Yeah, my view is something's gonna like he's gonna fight Edwards, he's gonna gas out in like 4 minutes, and then it's gonna be like, wait, Meerschaert was probably hindsight value. And I'm just gonna be like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, I mean, that's fully possible. We just don't know enough about Chimaev. Like,
Chimaev has nothing off his gagey like off his back.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people just message me about that fight, and I just don't understand how you can know. There's so many question marks. But I know your strategy when there's a huge question marks, you kind of just go with the more proven commodity, and you have the proven commodity as an underdog here. So I agree Edwards is a side. I think it's a dog or pass, and I'm a pussy. We get it, so I'm gonna pass. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless if the line gets like stupid. But there will be Edwards money coming in on that, I feel. I just feel like there's going to be people in your school of thought.
Makayev RDA's 5 rounds. Fuck. Jesus. Just looking down the list of cards, like that, Makayev RDA is probably the weakest card in UFC history.
When is that?
2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the lines now. I'd seen a lot of these previously before they came out on Bet Online.
Who was the brave person who's going to play Morono minus 300 after the last Morono fight?
De Freitas Gravely, that kind of seems wide. De Freitas is tough.
Yeah.
Don't you think? Like, I didn't take like the specific grab. Like he's not, I mean, he honestly should have. Gutierrez, I've come to think Gutierrez is actually pretty decent, and De Freitas deserved that fight, I feel.
Yeah, I agree broadly. I just think in terms of name value, that's an incredibly poor card.
Yeah. Your boy Safarov is on there though, so that makes up for everything.
True. It's just like in terms of like people who ever just names I could ever see being relevant. There's like 2 people I could ever see being like relevant in their divisions. Like Marquez isn't bad.
Yeah.
And Makaeva is that's just a very weak card.
Yeah, the weak card. But all right, I'm gonna
figure it out.
We'll talk next week, and good luck. Good luck on your Fili bet. I'll be rooting for you. Actually, I don't know if I'll be rooting for you because I kind of, like I said, I want a good line on Mitchell later or against him later.
All right. Yeah, it should be fun. Who knows how it goes. Anyway, thanks for listening, people.
All right. See you, man. Bye.
Catch up.